The Hustleshare podcast is sponsored by OneCFO, the Philippines' leading fractional CFO services provider for startups, scale-ups, and SMEs. Experience the power of tech-enabled, efficient, affordable, and expert-led fractional CFO services. Let OneCFO handle your finances so you can focus on growing your business. Book your free CFO consultation today.
Come to mind, like a lot of our teachers, especially, I don't know if it's still happening now, but I know that even myself, I find myself like selling some other stuff in the classroom just to make ends meet because it's not enough, right?
Tocino.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but whenever it's not, it doesn't taste the same if it's not your teacher who sold your tocino. Teacher tocino versus supermarket tocino, not even close. Teacher tocino is better.
Yeah, that's true.
Welcome to Hustleshare, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Beityong.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Share Podcast. It's Women's Month, and we want to make sure that we don't just showcase the big mamas of the women's industry or the women category of startup founders, right? There's so many of you guys, and I'm extremely proud because I've seen the big growth exponentially of how more women are now creating startups or businesses. It doesn't really matter. Business is hard. Entrepreneurship is hard. You want to call it tech. You want to call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's hard. And more women need to be represented. And I've seen the growth, but it's still underrepresented. But one thing I really want to showcase in this episode is that today we're going to be talking to a very interesting founder who is not just killing it in the startup ecosystem, but is also doing it contrarian because she's doing it outside of Manila. And today we're going to be talking to the founder and CEO of EdFolio, Miss Ursel Murillo-Laureno. Ursel, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ron. Thank you for inviting me here.
I don't know how to say the proper because I'm bisdak as well, but I speak Walay. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mayong aga ba?
May buntag.
Buntag pala. Okay, sorry. My Visayan words are all messed up. Sometimes like I say something Cebuano. It's like even in our own region, there's different words. I'm like, what the hell? Basta, I understand it.
Basta kasabot ra.
Kasabot. Bisdak la gihapon. Okay na ito. Ayan.
Yes.
So that's it. So again, super duper interested and welcome to the show. I remember meeting you, what was this, last year in person in Echelon, Philippines. You were wearing yellow. That's why. I have bias towards yellow because my university's colors in UST is yellow. It's like, someone's wearing yellow. You always stand out in the crowd when you wear yellow. And super duper interesting. But before we get carried away, Ursel, I need to ask you the $1 million question. Ursel, what's your hustle?
Yes. Hi, Ron. Thank you again for inviting me here. So what I do basically is before I became a startup founder, and just a quick backstory, I'm a school principal here in a school in Iligan City.
Yep.
And since pandemic, I started my startup, which is EdFolio. It's an e-commerce site for ebooks. So it's basically a marketplace where all of our teacher authors or independent authors or even publishers can sign up for free. And then buyers or any like homeschool parents, usually students and co-teachers, they come in and buy educational supplementary materials on the site. Wow. So aside from EdFolio, when we launched it way back 2022, we were also brewing in Skooltek because as a school head myself, that's really maybe the main problem that I saw, especially during the pandemic, where fragmented systems.
Asynchronous. Everything became asynchronous all of a sudden.
Right. And it's very noticeable because even I and my co-school heads, we were really grappling through what technology to use during the pandemic time, and that's where it's very obvious that most of the systems that are available in schools are fragmented. So you have to talk to a lot of people to get, certain systems on each departments. And that's where the vision came for Skooltek, really.
Got it.
So we launched Skooltek a little bit later that year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'm doing it full time now. I'm happy that there's also
Wow.
people that are
The
taking my
kids
place.
are now principales. Well, good luck to them. There you
Yeah,
go.
but I already have my vice principal working in,
Ah,
helping me run the school. So maybe it's just a blessing that my employer or my boss in the school is my parents. So, but I really ask permission that this year it's going to be at least
all
focus on
in.
Skooltek, yeah,
Mm.
EdFolio. So yeah,
No, that's amazing. And again, this is a classic example of a very interesting startup um, founded outside Metro Manila. Because I'm just gonna do a little bit of a tangent now, because in the VC game, and this is what startups, and I understand this now in what the hell, I'm 13 years in the startup PH industry. It's not even
oh,
an industry. When this is a fucking group when we started this up.
yeah,
There's only a couple of dozen of guys that do this before. And
mhm,
now, okay, call it an industry, community, whatever, right? But the there's sometimes sometimes there's a lot of confusion over what defines a tech startup, and we like to exclude and shit on what other people are doing because of the templates of what other ecosystems do. Because one thing about startups, especially in the Philippines, it's common outside of Metro Manila to see a startup that has multiple products. Now, there's a advantage and disadvantage of that, because obviously it's a focus issue sometimes,
yes,
and especially traditional VCs or VCs whose job, by the way, I'm just gonna go deeper into a tangent. When you talk to a VC, what VCs are supposed to do is basically create a couple of pages about what your startup is. And if you have multiple products in your line and they're completely opposite of what they do, or say, well, one is a service, one is a product. And I say this because Podcast Network Asia is the same.
mm.
VCs struggle to understand what the hell we're trying to do sometimes, because we have two things that we're doing and they're both doing well.
Yeah,
But when they pitch it to their IC or their investment committee, they're like, why is there two products? And it's confusing. But that's common in the Philippines. And we can do a deep dive later. And there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that, by the way. The most
yeah,
important is you use those two companies, or your two products or whatever service you call it, to bring and create a profitable business. Right? VCs do not define only if you're a great startup or not. And we can do a deep dive later
yeah,
about that, because I
yeah.
need you to buckle up real quick. I'll pick you up in Iligan Airport, ha? Langindingan Airport ba? Correct?
Yeah, Lagindingan now.
Lagindingan. Okay. I need you to go there real quick by gate 2. Okay? Because we're going to have to get
Yes.
all the way back and understand the origin story before you created EdFolio, before you created Skooltek, or became a principal. Because we're going to have to ride the Hustleshare time machine. All right, and we're back. See, I told you we're gonna go all the way back. There. So
Yes.
when we talk about any hustler that we've had, and especially women founders, we need to zero in on the origin story. So I want to understand, what was it like growing up in Mindanao, and what was your first exposure to hustling?
Yes. Well, I think it's very, very it's a when you're in Manila and you look at people in Mindanao, you see it as somewhat, maybe bundok or
No.
something provincey,
Yeah.
it's really that. I mean, to be honest, that's that, right? And with that comes also less opportunity.
I
So
agree.
growing up in Mindanao, you're always, I think because the Imperial Manila, where all the budget is, it's focused there, and that's the truth, right? So growing up in Mindanao, you're in a province, and there's really not so much that you can do. So I guess that's probably one of the thing that defined me growing up, that you have to hustle harder compared to where all or most of the opportunities are, right? So yeah, that's how it is growing up in Mindanao. But we also have the good things, the slow paced life. I also
Yes.
like that, and that's something that I don't want to really, give up. It's
Mhm.
something that up until now, even if I'm already doing this, I still would want to come back here
Mhm.
and live here. You
Yep.
know. So
No,
yeah.
so that's great, and you set it up nicely because it's true. I remember. I mean, my where my roots are from. My mom came from northern Samar. I was born and
Yeah.
raised here in Manila, so I understand the hustle and the grind. That's what I'm used to. But
Yeah.
again, people always ask, Ron, how the hell are you so fluent in Waray? It's
Mm.
simple. I got scolded in Waray. So
True.
the first words
That's
I
something.
understood were bad words. Okay. Pastilan, like those little things, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
those are the things that I fucking understood. And obviously you're gonna have to be able to just communicate back. But going
Yeah.
back, when I understand where my roots come from, they always say it that you have it so much better. And I, coming from a Manila standpoint, we are lower middle class in Manila, but it's still a stark difference of where we came from, our family's origin story. Because like in northern Samar, one of the poorest regions in the country,
Mm.
the biggest employer always, the majority of the time, probably the whole island, is the government.
Yeah.
The most common profession is a teacher.
Mm.
But being a teacher there is a great vocation, but you don't get paid much. So the
Yeah.
struggle is real,
True.
right?
That's
And
so
I'm
true.
not sure if that's similar in a case in other countries, but I would have to make a bet that it's probably similar because there's not enough businesses in the private sector to
Mm.
to keep to give proper employments, or you're gonna have to be a farmer. And there's nothing wrong with that too. But
Yes.
the options are scarce. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes. So pretty much true. Like, um, here, you don't get all of that. Like, say for example, I remember back then I'm into sports, but we cannot really hire, someone that can coach us better than maybe other cities can, and that's something that was not developed because you don't have any human resource or that
Yeah.
type of resource available at the time.
Mm-mm.
It's maybe different now because, of course, my city, Iligan, has also grown and
Yes.
improved, year by year.
Mm.
But looking back, it's really different.
Yeah. No, but I want to understand now. Of course, each hustler, we all have influences. Growing up, can you describe what was it like growing up for you? And again, the exposure to hustling that you first saw. You remember, you told us earlier that the owners of the school were your parents, but I'm pretty sure they came from very, very, very humble beginnings. Can you describe that a lot?
Yes. Well, the school is basically a ministry. So my dad is a pastor.
Wow.
He moved to Iligan because he was invited
From
to
where is he originally
from.
from?
So my dad is from Bacolod City. So I'm
Oh,
Ilongga.
Ilonggo.
I'm half Ilongga. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
My mom is from Cebu, but they met in Cebu.
Okay.
So when my parents met, and my dad, I think, studied his Bible school there in Cebu, and then was invited to Iligan because there was a church that had an opening, or
Okay.
they don't have a pastor at the time. That's where
Okay.
he started. But then eventually they started their own. So that's why we're here in the barangay, or how do you call this, subdivision where we're at now. It's different from where they started. So
Got it.
here they started really from scratch. So
Wow.
it started from like bahay kubo lang,
Wow.
having the school just at the home because
Mhm.
my parents believe that you have to start from when they're young,
Correct.
right? So they started a kindergarten until now. We actually have a 3-story building. But my in maybe I was brought up in a ministry kind of atmosphere where you give more than you get. So
Wow.
even until now, that's why it's probably one of the good things when I started this startup, because I'm not used to getting a lot. I used to giving it for free all the time, and I'm happy doing that, and that's something that I'm really very passionate even up until now. Helping people, helping especially the school or the education community or the education industry
Mm.
per se. So yeah, that's something that's really maybe imbibed in me
Yeah.
growing up.
But
So
that's great. And again, I have so much respect for people of faith that work and in a faith, well, whatever religion it is, because the way you're molded, sort of, I'm not sure, it kind of is the opposite of what business stands for. Because
yes,
business is you do it for profit.
yes,
What with faith, you have to give it more. Like, there's
yes,
tithe, right? Typically, in the Bible said 10%, that's your tithe. What you guys in the ministry for sure give more than 10%, probably
yes,
more than half of what you make.
yeah.
Uh, to
And
the
most of the
thing.
time, even your time, everything, it's really, it's intertwined.
Correct.
So yeah, that's also one of the main driving force. Maybe me doing this startup now, I'm I was even asked, or even told like to do some of the things that make me profit more. But my focus really is to, help, because I understand that, once these people find the value of what you're doing, then just profit will just come later, it will just come.
Yeah.
So I
Were
guess
you
that,
involved in the business like early on? Because majority of the time, if it's like, I can imagine this is like a family setup per
yeah,
se, where you have a lot of you have your parents, but again, since it's a ministry, it's not
yeah.
like you have a lot of resources to go around. How were you involved early in the church, in the school, and again the blurred lines in between?
Yeah. I think the business side of me was developed, having to grow up in a, of course,
Yeah.
limited support, limited everything. We're born or we're raised that we're told that we don't have enough, all of those stuff.
Yep.
So growing up in elementary, I find myself like buying and selling,
What were you
just,
selling?
yes. That time I remember it's marshmallows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I bought marshmallows for like 2 pesos and then sell it for like 350 or 4 pesos.
Oh,
So
wow. Nice
that's
margins.
yeah, that's when I remember that's what I can remember growing up. I'm buying and selling, and I think up until high school, I also do that on the sides. And college, I sell bags. Like I have a family friend that lives in the U.S., and she brings in all of those designer bags or at least branded bags, and then I sell them with in my to my classmates and people that I know. So that time I remember I was able to sell, I think, 50,000 worth of bags, and
What?
I can sell. I can sell.
Nice.
So yeah, that's when I know that it's something that I like and enjoy doing.
That's
Yeah.
good. Because as a founder, that's the sorry, I don't care where you come from, what industry you're in. If you do not have selling in your core skill set, you're
Yeah.
gonna have a hard time becoming a founder, because I don't care if you can create great products and whatnot, but
Mm.
if you cannot sell it, and if you cannot convince people to try it out, or you cannot convince people to trust you, it's gonna be hard. Now, it's not. I'm not saying you can't do it on your own, but you can
Yeah.
find people. If you say you really don't have that in your skill set, then you find a co-founder that has that as a superpower. And
Yeah.
if you had that early, then really, really good. I didn't know I can sell. I'll just share my little story here. I always had kapal ng mukha. He was never in my bones. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So what eyes are fucking flamboyant. They want attention and all that. So I've always learned how to do that. But selling came in late. I officially sold shit around first year college. I remember, because I lost 3 phones within a span of 1 month. My mom was pissed as hell. It's like, I don't have money to buy you another cell phone. Here, I have a bag full of makeup that I sell in my office. Go ahead, sell it. Whatever you make, it's yours. So man, I
Oh.
pull up to the school. I used to be varsity in high school, and now this is college. I have a big varsity bag, but it's not training clothes inside anymore. What's inside is makeup.
Yeah.
I was selling lip tint, buying shit. I was selling makeup, but man,
Wow.
it was so embarrassing that I said. But I learned, I validated. Man, I can sell. I sold. I mean, it wasn't much, but I sold like 8 to 10,000 pesos worth in 1 month.
Wow.
Enough for me to get a cheap ass phone. And from that point on, I was like, okay, I can budol pala. I had a skill set anyway, so that's
Yeah.
good.
And that's difficult because you don't use the product. I always believe, I can sell if I believe in the product and I use it. I can sell it, I can convince people.
Yeah, I will not demo it on myself.
I know, right? Wow. Good
Yeah,
job.
I'm a bros bro, by the way, and I was selling fucking makeup. What the hell? It was so funny. But yeah, again, bro, from that point on, I never took things. I want to now understand what was college like growing up. So you already told me that you were selling already, but what did you take up? Because of course, if you had the church and the school basically embedded in your journey early on, you
Yeah.
cannot really veer away from that because it serves a purpose. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That will always be a part of you, and you would always be pulled back to contribute. But what
Yeah.
was the path you took in college, and where did you study? What was that like?
Okay. So, well, like I mentioned, I grew up in a ministry perspective, and um, part of me didn't want to be there. So education was always the least of my career path.
Okay.
So during that time, nursing was very popular. A
Oh,
lot of
you did
students go
nursing?
abroad. Yeah, I'm actually a nurse. I'm a registered nurse.
Are you also the clinic? You're the principal and the clinic in the school.
Yeah, that's funny, right? I wear a lot of hats. So I was a registered nurse first, before I became a licensed teacher.
Oh
So
my god.
yeah, that's funny. But I think one of the things that I see in common is, the caring part of nurse, that part, and also the psych part. I really enjoyed the psych part of nursing because we had like a month exposure in a mental hospital and all that. So that kind of, kind of stuck. But nursing was something that I wanted to do because I know, you're gonna earn a lot, right?
Yeah,
So
if you go overseas, not when you're stuck
if you
here.
go abroad, right? So during the time when I was waiting for the results of the board exam, I committed into a volunteering a mission. It's a mission in Palawan. So
Okay.
it's called the Batak tribe.
Batak
So
tribe,
this tribe, I think they're the only ones left that are still topless. The women are still topless there.
Okay.
So it's really tribal. So I committed for at least a year and became a community nurse there. But there's also a school. So that's where prior to going there, I already found out that I passed. I was so happy, and
Nice.
yes, okay, I'm gonna go to that tribal community work, volunteer for at least a year before I pursue whatever I need to pursue, right? So that's part of the plan, go abroad, apply, whatever. But there was a school also in that community that I also helped. So when I started teaching and helping the teacher that was in charge, that's when my heart kind of shifted to teaching. Like, this is what I want. I love kids. I love teaching. I love being able to influence, little kids. I enjoyed really. So what I did, Monday to Friday, I teach like from 8 to 5. And then after that, I visit their houses because you have to walk. Like what I do that at the time was TB dots. So I have to like make sure that they take their medicines because,
What
TB.
is TB dots? I see that every time. Like in a like barangay setup, like a barangay whatever. What does that stand for?
So it's a program actually of the government where you as a community nurse, you make sure that they take up their medicine. So like if there are kids or even adults that are diagnosed with TB or tuberculosis. So there
TB
it's
stands for tuberculosis.
Yes. So
Stupid.
it's a
I'm
6-month
stupid.
program.
It's like, what? I see that all the time. Like, what is this TB dots? Okay.
Yeah. So it's a 6-month program, and then you as the one in charge or the nurse, you have to make sure that they take their medicine because it has a timing where if you miss a certain period, then it will be less effective.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
what I do. Like I visit their houses and make sure that they take the medicine, and I just walk because the community is really like mountainous.
Wow.
So that's what I did at that during that year. But then
Mm.
after that year, I went back to Ligan. God changed my heart in whatever way, and I said I'm gonna take up education because I only need 18 units for me to take the boards. So I took that one
Wow.
SEM, took all the units that I need to take. I did my self review because at the time I was so confused already. Do I still want to be a nurse and go abroad, or do I want to teach? You know,
Yeah. That's amazing.
so yeah, it was funny
Mm.
because while I was pursuing that, I decided to take the boards right away, like just a couple of months after I finished the 18 units, and I said, okay, Lord, I'm gonna self review. If I pass, then education is for me. So what I did, I just
Wow.
read all of the things that I need because my major was biology because I
Mhm.
was a nurse before.
Right, right.
And then I passed. I just did self review. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna pass this, then maybe this is really for me.
That's all your mitochondria helping you there.
Yeah.
They're merged together like to make a
Yeah.
super cell. No, but super duper amazing. But last question before we take our first break. I love the conviction and the story that you told us about how you basically went back to your roots, because at the end of the day, education was really in your heart anyway,
Yes.
right? You saw that growing up, you're part of the ministry, you're part of the school, you wanted to take on nursing. But one thing I do about startup founders is that every stop we take, you also develop superpowers. And what I like about you guys, and then again, I'll do a shout out to uh, one female founder that's also a super nurse that went to business, but kind of sort of went back to doing healthcare. So shout out Jess Demesa,
Wow.
Jess Demesa Lim of Kindred.
Mm.
She started out as a nurse. We worked
Nice.
for Zalora, Rocket Internet, and now she's one of the top female founders here. So she's also RN yan.
Wow.
She is a nurse by heart,
Wow.
and she developed a lot of super skills according to her while she was a nurse. That's what I want to find out, because again, you will probably still use that now, or you still take it with you. What were the super skills you developed while you were still a practicing nurse, or while you were taking up nursing?
Yeah, I think one of the super skill that I that was really maybe imbibed, or that's stuck even up until now, is the caring part of it, and also the understanding people.
Mm.
I mentioned that I like the psychiatric exposure. It was a month exposure. So funny that after I took up the 18 units of education, it made me be qualified to take up guidance and counseling for masters.
That
This
too? So wait,
certificate.
is your office in your school the guidance office, the clinic, and the principal's office?
Yes. So I have medicine here. I also do counseling. But I think that's so funny. But I was like looking back, I was like, okay, why am I doing this? All of these things, right? So I did a,
You save a
I
lot,
did a,
ah. You save a lot on your school if you're all of the above. Okay.
yeah, right. Yeah, I actually did, because I no longer need to hire a guidance counselor, a nurse, because I'm doing all of that. Like sometimes, of course, we don't want
Uh,
the accidents happen, but I'm
uh,
the first one to go.
oh my
But
God. The
yeah, I
kids
think
must be like, what, mom? What did I do? Why are you going to me?
yeah, that's so funny.
Hmm.
But I think it's the caring part of nursing and
Yeah.
understanding people's behavior. And even as a teacher, you have to also do that. You have
Mm.
to understand where your students are coming from.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when they act out in school, usually or most of the time, if not 100%, there's something that came up out of the house,
Yeah.
or there's a problem.
They
So
brought it in
that's
school.
where, yeah, that's where I enjoyed a lot doing as a teacher. influencing children's lives and being able to be the first one to at least understand, make them feel loved in school at the same time. Because I really believe that you cannot teach a child you cannot control or you cannot influence. Someone that would not listen to you cannot teach that child.
Yeah.
So one of the major factor of that is for you to be able to understand and make that child or the child maybe welcome or appreciated or loved in that sense. And it worked every time, since I started teaching 2012, 2013 up until now. My students that I used to teach then are already in college or even finished college, and I still praise God that, I see them through and we're still very close. Like if they have problems, they actually can come to me, because they know that I will not judge them and I understand them. And I try to bring out the best in my students every time.
There you go. That's amazing. Now, let's take our first break, and when we come back, we will now talk about the hustle being a principal and how that led to creating EdFolio and Skooltek. But let's talk about that more after the break. Hey, hustlers, are you a busy entrepreneur juggling a ton of tasks while trying to keep your finances in check? Thinking of raising money from investors or lenders but have no idea how to start? Well, you are not alone. Managing business finances is tough. But don't worry, I got something for you. Introducing OneCFO, the leading fractional CFO service and technology provider for SMEs, startups, and scale-ups in the Philippines. Whether you need help with financial management, fundraising strategy, or scaling up operations, their team of top-tier CFOs and their game-changing CFO tech platform have got you covered. And they're legit because I've heard about them from a lot of YC startups actually that got founded in the Philippines, because they've helped a ton of VC-backed startups, scale-ups, and some of the best SMEs in the country reach new heights. OneCFO is your strategic financial partner, providing the insights, guidance, and the tools you need to make smarter decisions and drive growth. Plus, they offer personalized support tailored to what your business needs, no matter the size. And what's the best part? It won't break the bank. OneCFO services are affordable and accessible to businesses of all sizes. So if you're ready to level up your business and finances, what are you waiting for? Schedule a free CFO consultation with OneCFO. Visit onecfoph.co today. That's onecfoph.co today to get your free CFO consultation. And we're back from the break. We are still with Ursel Murillo-Laureno, and told us how he basically changed life paths as a budolera, as a nurse, and now as a educator. So yeah, and when you passed the board exams, and obviously I think it's by fate. God really wanted you to become a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And what was the next steps, and how did that lead to talk to me about the grind of teaching, because it's not easy, man. You've been doing this for 12 years and 10 months, 13 years more or less.
Yes.
What was that journey like?
Yeah, well, teaching, I started teaching kindergarten and then grade 1 and 2, and then junior high school and senior high. Okay. So that's where I was. And I really saw the difference in teaching young children up to high school and especially senior high, right? But one of the common thing there as a teacher, when you're very passionate about what you do and you really want to help and make sure that your children understand and your children get what they need to learn during the time, is really problem solving. Like, say, for example, in one classroom setting, you have, say, 16, 17, 18 children, right? And all of these children are unique in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So one child can learn faster, other child learn less, right? And so as a teacher, I find myself like every week change my strategy and make sure that those that are being left behind can catch up, right? So every week I change strategy. I always problem solve. I always, find myself researching, doing a lot of, trying a lot of things to make sure that they are intrinsically motivated to study, to try harder. And that's something that I really enjoyed and developed maybe as a superpower, especially in the later years, right? So innovating in the classroom is really something that's, I guess, if you're really passionate about what you do, you really innovate. You try your best to do a lot of things, new things, things that maybe other people are doing, or maybe it's new, trying out new things. That's something that I really love doing, and I was exposed to technology during well, I like computers. I like doing all of that. I learned by, tinkering and doing a lot of stuff. And most of the time, I got that deleted and I have to restart the computer again just to make sure that, I don't know how to. That's how I learned computer, because I'm not a computer person or a tech founder or of some sort. So I was exposed to education technology when senior high started, because we were used into a curriculum where it's already there. We already have modules. So shout out to School of Tomorrow. We already have modules. We just buy them.
There you go.
And that's something that's already built, right? But when senior high came, it's something that's new, even to the entire Philippines, right? And more so to us, because we are in an individualized kind of system. And now that we have to go to the traditional setup where teachers have to teach and lecture. So when I found out about Apple education, I was so in love, in the sense that even if the tools are quite expensive, but I see it very effective in terms of handling classes and doing innovative stuff in the classroom. Yeah. So that's where I started, really. So I started 2015, 2016 and launched our senior high program with an iPad program. So all of our students in the senior high, it's a requirement that they have an iPad. I help them acquire an iPad. I have deals with Apple companies. I think iCenter then. They helped us acquire in installment and all that. So I really had to do a lot of stuff, hustle and make sure that, we get the resources that we need, because of course, not all of our students can afford, right? But, we were able to pull it off in the first year and on the second and even on the third, right? So during that time, that's where I started checking out apps, see if this is something that we can use. Most of the time, it's the free apps that we use, because of course we cannot.
You already spent for the iPad. You don't want to pay for paid apps, right? So
right.
that's also, another thing on top.
Yeah. And also, iPad has native apps that you can use for education. They already have. So it's built in. There are just others that we need to try out, but most of the time the Apple native apps it's very useful already, and we've been using that. I trained all of my teachers. My teachers now are all Apple teachers. They got certifications, and support from Apple is really very good. So that's how I started, and even then I started teaching coding.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the journey.
That's
there.
intense. Okay, you learn how to code too. What the hell? Yeah. Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I taught that from grade 4 to senior high, and year on year I got to improve as well. Professionally, I believe that if I wanted, because when I think, okay, I wanted my students to know all of these things. So what I do is I learn it first so that I can teach it, right? So that's why coding has been part. I think 2-3 years I taught coding, and looking back now that I'm a startup founder, that really helped me understand the process. So that's just my background. If people ask me, I'm not a tech founder, but I teach coding for kids for high school, but not so much in the programming, like the true stuff, I guess.
No, but that's the most important skill. So again, skill set you learn. I'm just going back to your skill set that you've developed. So you've learned how to technically sell early on. You know how to code, and then the stuff you learned from nursing now adds up. So that, and the most important thing as a founder is the ability to learn on your own, because there's no playbook. Yes, there's a program now, Lean Startup, freaking business model canvas. That's good, but at the end of the day, what will the common denominator of how to make that work is action and the ability to learn on the fly, because there's no playbook. There's no guarantees out here. This is not a corporate job where if you do X and Y, you're going to get Z, No, it's
Yes.
not. Never. So that's amazing. But one thing that I wanted to ask, because and I'll go step back a little bit. I have so much respect for teachers because it's not easy. You really have to love what you do. Number one, again,
Yeah.
you don't get paid much,
Yes.
right? And the effort that you guys put in, it doesn't stop in the workplace. I think you even do more at home because you have to check
Yeah.
papers, you have to do lesson planning, you have to do all of these things. And you're
Yes.
typically doing that grind the whole day. But I want to understand one thing. Where do you get the satisfaction? Where does the endorphin boost come from as a teacher? Because despite the grind, and it's easy to imagine what the grind would be, and
Mm.
I sometimes feel bad because I wasn't a good student before. Not a
Yeah.
good student, not because I'm an idiot. I think I'm really bad with math. That's where that's a big ass hole in my thing. That thing that I didn't develop. The rest I was able to develop. But I was also a class clown.
Mm.
So a lot of my teachers fucking probably hated my guts. And I heard that I'm very popular in the faculty room, but for good reasons, but for bad reasons, because being an idiot. And hindsight being 2020 now, I regret that. My God, that what did I put those guys to just because I was being an idiot in high school, right? I didn't want to be that. But despite all of the hardships or things that did not make sense at all,
Mm.
where do teachers get the kick? Where is the satisfaction coming from when
Yeah.
you're teaching?
Well, for me, it's really the thank yous you
Mm,
get from your students, and um, it's really something where you feel like you were able to do something for someone, especially your students, and they tell you, Mom Ursel, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the love and for everything. And it's even more validated when parents also tell you and thank you, right? And yeah, that's something that you cannot just you know it's not replaceable. It's not even, it cannot be even bought,
yeah.
right? So that's something, even up until now, I still love. I actually still teach one subject, and it's entrepreneurship now, at least.
Nice.
It's something.
Yeah, you're an entrepreneur, so you are very much qualified to teach it.
Yeah.
Mm,
So I still love what I'm doing. I love teaching, and that really uh, made way to what I'm doing now,
yeah.
especially at EdFolio and even in Skooltek. It's something that's really intertwined, and
Mm,
you cannot take it out. And I guess that's something that maybe even until now, even if I'm not really that present anymore, but
mm,
my drive in helping the education industry, or the education sector, is really so strong, because I know what they're doing, or what we're doing as teachers and as schools. It's really not, you cannot see like the vision for profit. It's not really there, because
mm.
it's schools are not really that profitable, even if you see it as a big one, or most of the time it's not, especially small
It's
to
a,
medium schools,
it's an
right?
institution made out of love.
Yes.
I would imagine it's that, because if you're trying to make money, this is not
Yeah,
the business that you want
I
to
know.
do, right?
Yeah.
Mm, right.
So yes.
Just imagine, like, for example, just observing it as a as a student. Like,
Mm,
how many people can pay tuition upfront in one go? Probably
yes.
a minority.
Yeah.
A lot of the students and their parents will pay in installment. Some
Yeah.
guys back and pay on time. And it's not like you don't have an upkeep as a school. You have OPEX to cover. And when
Yes.
that cash flow is manipis, where the hell are you gonna get
Yes.
the float,
Yes.
right?
Pretty much what we went through, even until now. If you really want profit, school is not the best business to go to. But
Yeah.
it's really I think it's the vision,
Mm.
and the heart to help students
Yeah.
impact lives, In fact, I prayed one time. I said, Lord, because there was a time that I felt weak, especially during the pandemic. I was maybe a little scared.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, Lord, don't take me now. I still have a lot of kids that I
Yes.
want
Wag
to help.
naman. What
You
the
know,
hell? Okay. Mhm.
that thing. So
Mhm.
that's something really that I cannot take out of my system. Even if maybe
Yeah.
I'll be doing this full time and more. So yeah, that's
I,
something.
I understand exactly what you mean, because it's similar to what I do here in Hustleshare. In a way, I'm teaching, but I'm not in a classroom setup. I teach by
Yes.
documenting stories,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So that people can understand that hey, it can be done pala, and provide
Yeah.
inspiration as well. And the kick that I get, the amount of validation, I'm not after fame. I'm not after whatever. I'm after the ability to change lives, because entrepreneurs have so few reasons sometimes to keep going when things are dark. And
Yeah.
sometimes the only way you can actually get that from is from fellow struggling entrepreneurs to keep going,
Yeah.
right? Because the odds are against you by default. The moment you decide wanted to become an entrepreneur, the odds are already against you. And the
Yes.
longer you keep going, the harder it gets, but the better you become. And you only learn how to do that by listening to your peers and learning that it can be done, that despite the odds, you
Yeah.
actually can have a good chance of winning. Now, we understand the whole teacher grind. And now I understand, Ursel, that you've been a thinker and you've never been uh, the type that would just like sit around and wait for someone to teach you something so you can teach. You've always been the one to actually do it. When did the EdFolio product or problem solution come through to solve a problem? When did this happen, especially during the pandemic?
Yeah. So I guess when my co-founders, because they're the ones in the tech industry for
Mm,
I think quite some time, um when they found out that we actually met in a different grind. So
mm,
and then when they found out that I'm a school principal,
okay.
they approached me and they told me, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about doing this? You
Mm,
know, and instantaneously, it's something that because before
mm, of
it's highly impossible for me to be able to do what I'm doing now
course.
because, like I mentioned, resources are scarce. Um, you cannot imagine. Even myself, I'm like I don't even know that what I was doing is going to be a
Mm,
startup. I don't even know what startup mean when I
right.
started. So
Mhm.
for me, it was just creating a platform where teachers can actually use, right? And um, I think backstory before that happened.
Mm,
I was so passionate about teaching teachers how to create their own content and
mm,
not rely heavily on textbooks. Textbooks are good, but you as a teacher, you have to really innovate and create your own because at the end of the day, you're the one who understand your teacher and I mean your student and what your student needs in the
yeah.
classroom. Right? It's not the books. It's not the authors of the books. Even as a principal now, I tell my teachers, if they have a problem, they come to me. I tell them, yeah, I can give you some advices and some encouragements and maybe strategies, but at the end of the day, it's going to be you. It has to be you because you're the one who understands and knows your student well.
Yeah.
So my passion was there. Like, okay, teachers have to really create, and I like that. And one of the things that also come to mind, like a lot of our teachers, especially, I don't know if it's still happening now, but I know that even myself, I find myself like selling some other stuff in the classroom just to make ends meet because
Mm.
it's not enough, right? So
Tocino. Just kidding.
yeah, that.
Sarap. I don't know what it is, but whenever it's not, it doesn't taste the same if it's not your teacher who sold your tocino. Teacher tocino versus supermarket tocino, not
Yeah,
even close. Teacher tocino
teachers,
is better.
yeah, that's true.
Mm,
So having EdFolio gives them a platform for the educational contents that they have created over the past like even especially during the pandemic, I know it really jump started a lot of those modules and all of the stuff that the teachers have created just to make sure that they survive during the pandemic, right? So having EdFolio, having that platform where they can at least see what's, what their content is worth and sell it there. And I'm very happy that even though I see it as because it's B2C, we know for a fact that it's very expensive to market, right? And make it popular. So I just took my time, when we launched EdFolio. When we launched it, that's when it dawned on me, what I'm doing is a startup. And I have to raise investment because I was thinking, okay, I can just buy and sell, right? And maybe because at the time we were already thinking about Skooltek too. So we thought that we can finish both Skooltek and EdFolio at the same time. But it did not happen.
Of course.
So Skooltek is the B2B product. And the strategy really is to sell, and not sell, but offer Skooltek to my network of schools, because most of my friends are school owners. Ideally, that's the idea, right?
Right.
But then it did not happen. So I had to jumpstart EdFolio. And that's when it dawned on me that, I have to raise investment. I have to actually do this because I can no longer survive, bootstrapping and all that. But although we did that on the first year, but, the idea was I have to make it work. I have to, find investment and all that.
Sounds good.
And that's when I started researching, okay, so this is what a startup is. So I'm a startup,
There you go.
Really, it's so funny because I didn't know. And when I, kind of got oriented about what startup is, I started searching if there are startups in Iligan, and I'm happy
There's a lot.
Actually, yes. So that's when I found out. And when I found out, I invited them to a first meetup in Iligan. I actually took the initiative to do that so that I would know what is the environment like, or what's the community like. So that's when I found out that it's mostly students or fresh graduates. So yeah, that's when I found out and met people here in Iligan, and I'm happy until now. The community here is growing, and now I got to help the community here as well.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. Now let's take our last weekend. When we come back, we will now talk about that hustle and EdFolio. What was it like trying to raise funding? What did you realize raising startups? And again, the challenges of non-Manila startups. I want to do a deep dive on it, because sometimes founders or around the region need to really hear it on what from a bird's eye view. I've seen it all.
yes.
And sometimes you just gotta realize that you probably don't need funding. But we'll talk about that more after the break.
Hey hustlers, before we resume the episode, let me tell you a very quick secret. Do you guys ever wonder how we're able to consistently release episode after episode here in Hustleshare without missing a date over the past 3 years? Well, it's not just pure hustle, because I'm also running my podcast along with me running my startup full time. Now, for some of you who have listened to this podcast, you guys very well know that I created a startup that is designed to help the best podcasters in Southeast Asia to realize their full potential, which is called Podcast Network Asia. And over the past couple of years, we've achieved quite a lot in P&A, helping hundreds of podcasters create world-class episodes consistently. However, what we realize is that we are not really solving the real problem of all podcasters in the world if we're not going to productize the thing that we're very good at, which is helping podcasters solve the two main pain points of a podcaster, which is number one, nobody really likes to edit their own show. Especially if you're listening to your own voice. Just like me, I cringe a lot. Having to listen to my voice for 3 to 4 hours just to release a 1-hour episode. It's no fun. And then the other thing is that most podcasters, just like me, are absolutely clueless on how to properly grow their show, which is something that we have perfected in Podcast Network Asia. So we've decided to put this all in one product that helps any podcaster in the world create world-class shows that people will love and will continuously grow. And that's why we created Podmachine. Podmachine is the most affordable podcast subscription service that helps you with your podcasting needs. We've got everything from audio production, crafting designs, and marketing and growth support. So as a podcaster, you can now just focus on the thing that matters the most, creating great content for your listeners. So if you are an existing podcaster or someone that actually wants to create their podcast now, no need to worry. You got a founder's discount by listening here on Hustleshare. So sign up now at podmachine.com. And aside from the free trial that you're going to get as a new user, I'm throwing in another one free edit as soon as you sign up for just as low as $49.99 USD a month to start creating a consistent and world-class podcast. Again, that's podmachine.com and use the code Hustleshare to get your founder discount. So if you have friends that are podcasters and if you want to have a podcast just like this, y'all know what to do. So just go and talk to you guys in Podmachine.
And we're back in the break. We are still with Ursel Murillo-Laureno that told us the amazing hustle of how she doesn't even know she was a startup founder doing all of these stuff. But I want to zoom in a little bit more, just so that for those people who fully don't understand what EdFolio is. So is it a platform where teachers who create technically ebooks can sell their ebooks? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Why is that the problem that why you guys wanted to solve? Because I'll just say it. There's already existing platforms where you can buy ebooks. You can always download for free, blah, 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 and whatnot. Because I see it. There's not a lot of digital books out there, especially educational in nature. But it's a two-sided problem. There's a demand and there's a supply problem. There's a supply problem, there's not enough that is out there. And the demand problem, people probably don't know that this exists, right?
Yeah.
That they can actually, they don't have to have a physical book, a long-ass big book that they can put in their bag in order to consume and learn. And of course, the other problem of people don't really read books anymore in this day and age. TikTok is where they learn and whatnot. But why did you want to solve this problem from the get-go?
Yeah, so I think it's really more of for EdFolio, it's really more of finding a community where you can help each other as teachers, right? There was a similar platform, of course, it's a non-Filipino platform, and they really are doing well in terms of getting that having that community of teachers helping each other, right? And I guess it's more of that in that sense, and also giving a space where teachers can also have a side income, and not doing anything outside teaching, right? Because these materials they already have probably in their Google Drive. And that's something that they can monetize. So giving this platform for teachers is something that's, I guess for me, it's very important because during the pandemic, my school also created our own modules. And I guess we were the first ones to upload our content on the site, right? And now I can see, although along the way when I started doing mentorships, I was told, because I always pitched two products. That's the problem there, right? You cannot focus. I mean, at the time I didn't know what to do. Like, how do I get this? How do I get this across? How do I make sure that people understand what I'm doing when I am doing two things at a time? But then I understood clearly that the strategy that I was really going into was to sell Skooltek once Skooltek is there. And then EdFolio is more on the giving side. It's not the although I refer to it as a sleeping giant when maybe people are already they already know about it, because that's one of the problem, right? People don't know that it exists yet. And if for you to be popular, you have to spend a lot of marketing, and marketing is very expensive. We know that for a fact, right? So right now, the focus of EdFolio is giving back to the community, getting we started doing like webinars then, and and more on the professional development, so that people will find the value first,
Mhm.
and at the same time, get to know EdFolio. So when I started doing mentorships, Maine was the first one that actually maybe got our attention, or
Nice.
they kind of
Shout out
got the
JDL and the main
mentorships.
Quendy and the
Yes.
Mangels. There you go.
Yes, the angels. And I'm still in contact with them, and I'm so happy that they actually told me the hard truth of what I need to do.
Mhm.
And that's when I was able to, sit down and ponder on the things that they told me. Although it was painful. It's painful to be told, right? And
Yep.
and you have to like reconsider. Okay, what's your strategy? Why are you doing two things at a time? So that's when I kind of stopped and reflect and focus on building Skooltek. And there, when we finished Skooltek for the first time, I applied on another, like,
Accelerator.
it's a competition
Mm.
that I also got in. So after Maine, that's the second one, and it's an international one. So
Nice.
that really gave us a good kick, right? And it's a US funded initiative. So
Nice.
we were flown to Thailand for free, and
Wow.
that's something, right?
Mm.
So that actually gave me another encouragement, because of course, not having funding, not having all of this very clearly, like you said, being a founder, there's no playbook on how to do this. So you have to like hustle and learn on your own.
Mm.
And I'm happy that there are programs like what Maine is doing, and there's a lot actually. I found out later on, but during that year, it was just my resort, my exposure was very limited,
Mhm.
and I'm just happy that I got into the best ones, I guess,
Yeah.
and I was invited in the best ones at the time.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was the beginning of when it was validated that having these resources all at the perfect time,
Mhm.
I was having a encouragement boost.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to continue even when
Right.
it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you get funding, I think later that year, one of my co-founder, um he told me that he would want to reinvest or invest,
Nice.
right? So that's something that I think gave me at least a kick, year on year,
Mhm.
having people to believe in what you're doing, and that they also believe your leadership, because that's something that that's really, I guess, very encouraging, and especially when you're on the verge of giving up, when people believe in you, it will really help you and reflect on the path that you wanted to take.
Oh, totally agree. So wait, okay, I'll just zoom in on one thing. So Skooltek technically took off faster because I would ease because it's a bigger. It's not bigger. It's you have a low hanging fruit. This is an LMS, correct?
Yes, a
And
school
an
management system, school
Okay.
integrated to
SMS
learning.
pala. Ayan. Okay,
Yes.
there you go. And your unfair advantage there is because obviously you're a school principal. You know exactly the business of what the
Yeah.
schools make. You have a network of teachers you can sell to easily. And again, it's something that you can take profit on. So I understand why that took off faster because there's
Yeah.
so much fewer factors that you needed to hit versus a B2C play.
Yes.
And because again, I'll just go on a tangent here again. B2B, B2C. Okay.
Yes.
In B2C, so take notes, kids. This is your Tito Ronser giving you advice because I have both. So I'll give feedback on why B2C is so much harder and why you probably need funding if you want to do B2C route. And why B2B, if you're trying to make a business, might be the easier route. Okay, so I have both. I'll give you context muna in Podcast Network Asia. In Podcast Network Asia, I have two products. Okay. The first product is called Podmachine. It's podcast post-production as a service. It's SaaS technically, where people pay us to have their podcasts edited. The problem statement is very simple. Everybody wants to talk, nobody wants to edit. Pay us, we will do the dirty job for you. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. There you go.
Yes.
Right? The other thing that we have is called Serie FM. It's basically paywalled audio drama. That's my bayad. There's a payment. Both are doing okay, but doing okay in both sides is not the same. Because doing okay in a small sample size in B2B, for example, where I probably only have what? Less than 150 clients. 150 clients, 150 people that pay us. But that nets us like around 40K USD, 50K USD. That means I only have to chase 150 and I make X amount. And we're cash flow positive and we're profitable. 150 people can be sold to by a super founder that knows how to sell. Right? Do you need funding? If you're in the black, you don't need funding. Because funding is something that you use or something that you get for people or from investors that want to go big or go home. The people that invest. So whether they're angels, whether they're especially VCs, they want a massive, massive multiple. Like 100x growth, 10x growth, whatever the fuck that is. Right? And usually they grow into hyper growth startups. So if you're a startup founder, it's like, hey, nobody wants to fund me. My startup idea sucks. No, it doesn't. There's nothing wrong with a lifestyle business or a lifestyle startup. A lifestyle startup is basically it's enough for you to sustain profitably. Your growth is not 10x, but it doesn't mean you're less. Because a lot of these startups that raise a lot of money are designed to burn that cash that they have. And if they don't hit the growth multiple and the growth multiple that they're expected to make, oh my fucking God, sorry for cussing, but it's intense. What they're expected to achieve are benchmarks of at least like, I don't know, 20%, 30% month on month growth. That's easy to do when you start from zero. But when you're 12 months in and you're still expected to grow 20% growth, 30% month on month, you need a lot of money to make that happen.
Yes.
And in B2C, that's incredibly difficult. So for example, 150 B2B, I can make 40K, 50K USD. That can feed families already. A lot of mouths. 150 in B2B, B2C, that ain't shit. What is that? A couple $100? 20,000 pesos? What can you do with 20,000? You can't even pay one employee with 20,000 pesos. So do you get it? So that's why it's not the same. Because with B2B, higher ticket sizes, direct impact, and has the probability of recurring revenue. In B2C, unfortunately, there isn't
a million.
But not just that. Not just that. Sorry, I'm just gonna burst the bubble. That's why it's so much difficult.
Yeah.
I do not know a Filipino startup that is thriving B2C. There's only two. They're actually unicorns. People, I'm just gonna burst this bubble. So you can probably put this. There's actually two unicorns in the Philippines that people don't know of, and you can just do the math. They just don't masquerade as that. There's only two B2C products that are doing well here in the Philippines. And they're not, if your morals are not aligned with what God wants, then sorry. I'll tell you what they are. Do you have an idea, Ursel, what those two products are?
Not quite, but
I'll tell you what it is.
Yes.
Okay. The first one is Viva Max. That's B2C. Do you know how much money they make? They have 12 million subscribers. They charge $3 per month.
Wow.
They have $36 million MRR, monthly recurring revenue.
Wow.
What is their product? You know, if you live under a rock, you already know. $36 million uh, times 12 equals $432 million annualized. Even
Oh
if
my
you have
goodness.
2 to 3x multiple, that's $1 billion we're talking about. That's a unicorn. You don't even
Yes.
know it, but just do the math.
Yes.
Okay, Netflix is the next comparable. Netflix trades at 3x revenue. So 3x revenue of 432, 3x is $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
That's Pinoy. That's the only thing that's thriving. And again, what's their product? You already know.
Yes.
The
Oh my
other
goodness.
one, another morally challenged thing, is DigiPlus. They're
Mm.
publicly trading. DigiPlus is the owner of Bingo Plus. If you
Mm.
look at their revenues, it's publicly trading. It's public. They earn billions of pesos.
Yeah.
What is their product? It's gaming, aka
Gambling.
gambling.
Yeah.
So those are the only two in the Philippines that are thriving, that are making
Oh
money like
my.
crazy in B2C. So I don't want to burst your bubble, but it's,
Yeah.
if you want to do B2C, startup is already in hard mode, super difficult mode. B2C in the Philippines is super God level hard mode. And you need a lot of
Yeah.
money to have a shot. And that's a type of scale that investors want to see.
Yes.
Because I don't know anyone. Because fintech, okay, B2C, but that's fintech.
Yeah.
Direct B2C, I don't see anyone. You might have a better chance. If you're a local startup that's not based in Manila,
Mm.
you'd be better off, probably a better chance for success. And success is not going to come in the form of you funding, because you can actually become successful by becoming profitable. I've
Yeah.
seen multiple of this already in the Philippines, because you don't need much. Imagine, let's just say you're selling a SaaS or a product at $100 a pop. Okay, $100 per se, $100 MRR. Somebody pays you $100 per month. It's around 5,000 pesos. Okay, and you have 1,000 of these. 1,000 people selling you. You're selling to a month. Um, that's like your North Star. I want to sell to 100 businesses paying me 5,000 pesos per month. That's $100,000. $100,000 MRR means you already can make $1 million annualized. 50 million pesos.
Yes.
At 50 million pesos or 1 MARR, that means that's the first benchmark. You're eligible for a Series A investment. So don't let my sorry if I went on a hell of a tangent. This is supposed to be about you. But I want to take advantage because I'm pretty sure a lot of the
Yes.
non-Manila startups are gonna go here and listen to this. If you don't, if you think that funding is gonna come, even Manila startups, it's still a tech winner. If you look at the release of Kaya Founders, they said they're gonna invest in maximum 15 startups this year. 15 lang. How many startups are there out right now?
And how much usually is the check size?
Not just that, but your chances for funding
Yeah.
are very, very slim.
True. That's
Second, Kickstart, they said 9 maximum.
mm.
There's only 15. It's like Starstruck, di ba? Or like Pinoy Big Brother.
Yeah.
There's only,
Para talagang starstruck.
right, di ba? That the only, so you'd be better off selling your shit
Yeah.
and find a way to becoming profitable. That's what I like what you do with Skooltek, right?
Yes.
Because when you are profitable, you're in charge of your own destiny. That's what I learned in Podmachine. We were supposed to be dead, but we were doing, at the very onset, we were doing the B2C game. We wanted to grow X amount of crazy ass thing, and the revenue didn't come. When the revenue doesn't come, and you're trying to go grow, and by the way, VCs don't want that metric anymore. When you go grow, and you not hit the metric, you're only dependent on one means to survive after that, which is fundraising. And if you don't hit the metric, you're dead. Whereas if you're chase the cash, chase the revenue, find the easiest path to get to the black and scale still fast enough because you're a tech company, you're supposed to be scaling fast enough. But be in your own destiny and hold your own horses, you're not defined what VCs would be. So this doesn't go to non-Manila startups only, but for everyone in the ecosystem. Gone are the days where, and especially now the political turmoil in the US, that's where funds come from. When there's uncertainty locally, the richest of the rich, which funds all the startups or all the VCs, by the way, are scared. And VC, venture capital, is the highest risk asset class among investment types. So if the riskiest in an uncertain world do not have funding, where will your funding come from? Wale.
Wale talaga.
So you need to find a way to become profitable. And the best way to do that is to run a profitable business. Keep your costs low. Acquire businesses at scale or acquire customers at scale. Be profitable. Be in the black.
Yeah.
And I've seen this happen really, really well. Again, another bisdak, a good friend of mine, Nel Ligo. Found a business model, eventually got into profit. He's in charge of his own destiny.
That's true. Yeah.
There's a few more. So there, that's why I'm happy what you did with Skooltek. But Ursel, sorry, I went on a tangent there. So with Skooltek, how were you able to then generate your first few clients? Because this is an inspiring story that people can learn from. And did you get the profitability? Are you pretty close? What does that look like?
Yeah. So on the first year, of course, I went into my network of schools. And when we started Skooltek, my heart was really out to helping small to medium schools, right? Yeah. But then when we started selling, even given an opportunity to sell to colleges and even university level, that's when I saw that the big schools have the biggest need and the biggest problem. And so on the first year, we encountered problems with small schools, and usually our problem, our biggest competitor are their manual processes, because they can still do it manually because they're still small, right? So that's our biggest competitor in the small to medium sector. So when we pivoted during the middle of the year, I already realized that, this market, although my heart was really very pure, I really wanted to help because that's where I'm coming from. That's where I wanted to really, that's really the reason why I started Skooltek in the first place. But then middle of that year, it kind of dawned on me and I was told, okay, ma'am, if we wanted to go to the higher level or higher education, we have to create a version 2 because version 1 will not fit or it's not going to be scalable.
Yeah.
So I had to make a hard decision on the first year, even while we were trying to cater to the small to medium sector. And we had 15 schools, but if you have 15, 16 schools at the time and you only have an average of 200 students per school, that's still very small. So when we pivoted to the higher education and looking at the needs of the higher education sector, so the first year became our R&D for the higher education sector. And the first year of version 2 is this school year, which is 2024-2025. And that's where our numbers grow, or it grew like a multiple of 14.
Wow.
Yes.
See?
So
B2B. There you go.
Right?
Was it hard? What was harder? EdFolio or Skooltek?
EdFolio talaga, it's very hard to scale. So Skooltek, very, very, if I may say, yeah, it's worth it. Like even presentations, it's always done by me. Usually if high ticket clients, I always travel. I'm really the person who sell it. And it was all worth it. All the stress, all the travel that you have to go and,
No, because your chances for success, all you need is one yes and you're going to get the ticket.
Yes.
In a
Exactly.
B2C market, you need you'll have a yes for what?
Mm,
$2, $3,
true.
and
So
it's not recurring in nature.
yes, pretty much.
'Di ba? Here
So
you get what? $1,000, whatever, 'di ba? Agad.
yes.
And it's recurring in nature.
Yeah.
You need
And
volume in B2C.
yes. And you
Here,
only need to talk to one person and you get 3.8 million, 2 point.
'di ba? Your ride home, you're riding with a smile.
Yes, that's
Yes!
true.
Sumaksis ka. Yan,
Oh.
basically.
Yes. So I think that's really the confirmation, that was a good decision. It was very hard because it's going to be expensive. You have to invest again and try your best to limit.
Right.
Of course, you have to save up because you have to really stretch your budget. And I'm just so happy that I have a great team as well that they see the vision, they believe in the vision. So I'm happy too. I'm
There you
happy
go.
that way.
All right. Now, what's your advice? So, unfortunately, we don't have much time anymore. I want to understand
Yes.
what's your advice. As a non Manila founder, and again, there's nothing wrong. I'm rooting for all of y'all. But
Mm,
sometimes we have one of the biggest curses sometimes of non-Manila founders is they don't understand that the TAM, if they want to fundraise, this is the only time where it matters. The TAM is too small. If you want to fundraise, nobody's gonna fund you if you want to be the biggest. I don't know, biggest Netflix of Iligan City, no, or whatever. You want to be the Google Suite of Iligan City. Nobody's gonna fund that. It's too small. Or even if Mindanao or even the Philippines, it's too small.
yeah.
But it only matters if you want to fundraise. It doesn't matter if you find a way, like you guys, to generate revenue
Yeah.
and be in the black. Who cares? It's your business, and the funding, you don't need it, right? I mean, it's nice to have funding, but it's nice to have full control over your own destiny and
Yeah.
be doing that. So, what your advice for fellow founders like you who are not in Manila, who have tried it, but have a direct path to success without having to be now dependent on funding all the time, or you probably don't need it anymore to succeed.
Yeah. Well, I guess for one, my greatest advice would be an empty cup all the time. Because when you're very open to all of good and bad criticisms and even advices from people,
Mm.
always take it into heart and into consideration. Because sometimes if we're too stiff and we find that our idea or our direction is really the best way to go, you kind of miss out on the good things.
Yeah.
So be an empty cup, and at the same time be determined
Mhm.
in a way that sometimes challenges are there to strengthen you. I cannot imagine being where I am now without having to experience a lot of the hardships that I had. Even when we started this 2021, it was just in development phase, and even before that, and as the journey went on, it kind of maybe molded me or strengthened me in a way that I wouldn't be giving up faster than maybe what I was during that time.
Mm.
You know, so um, keep your focus on the price, right? This is what you wanted to do. This is the thing that you wanted to do, helping people along the way, and never give up on that. So I guess most of it all, if I can share, it's really my faith. I call all of this is my faith journey because I couldn't do it without the guidance, of course, of God, because I've been really praying all throughout and how He has provided even people that can mentor me, help me along the way. It's really a really, really big learning journey for me.
Mhm.
And I'm happy that when I prayed, because I think during the time, like last time we spoke, I mentioned to you about having to raise an angel investment, right? And it was it wasn't even unplanned. I didn't want to. I wanted to go home, and then that happened. So that for me, that's just something that you do not control, right? So it's
Yeah.
all God for me. And when right now, I just want to share before we end. I After that angel investment, I kind of prayed to God, like if I wanted to raise again, it would be to scale in the Southeast Asian countries or outside, and it's now being realized.
Yeah.
That's another investment. I don't know if you've heard of EduSpace, but I'm flying to Singapore tomorrow. And yeah,
Okay.
so it's really awesome, like when you pray and God is giving you that route, and it's just a validation where, okay, this is really the route to go, and they're gonna help us scale in the Southeast Asian
See,
country.
when you
And
don't chase it, it happens. There you
yes,
go.
yes,
Because when you work on your business and you hustle and you work on your metrics,
yes,
that's when you get the money.
right. So
That is amazing. Thank you so much,
yeah.
Ursel. But before I let you go, of course, you got to tell us what's coming up next. So again, you told us already that you're going to be part of EduSpace. What's next for Skooltek and EdFolio?
Yeah. So, well, Skooltek, our vision really is for it to be an end-to-end integrated systems for schools. So, I'm just very excited about what good things we're cooking right in our pipeline. And one of the things that we're also doing now is, of course, integrating blockchain technology to our credentials, so that it will be validated as soon as students get their documents or transcript of records, or cards for that matter, or any type of certification from schools. And for EdFolio, I'm just happy that lately we've been gaining traction as well. There's a teacher that's been, I see that for the past month, there's massive purchases from her.
Nice.
And I'm happy that she's getting that, I think we paid her about 10,000 this month. She was able to get paid, right? So I guess for EdFolio, it's really more on the helping side. So as these teachers grow and profit from it, then that's when we can also enjoy the fruits of our labor.
That is amazing. But before I let you go, follow us on whatever podcast app you're listening to, whether Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if we did say some jargon or any links that we discussed, it's going to be in the show notes on hustleshare.com. And if you also want to be part of this community and support Hustleshare and doing content like this, please do subscribe at premium.hustleshare.com. Again, Ursel, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron.
All right. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.